All right, cool. Today we have on Rachel Walton. She is the head of SEO at Quirky Digital. So we are so excited to be bringing her onto the SEO leadership webinar today. Quirky Digital is a leading SEO agency working with up and coming SMEs across various sectors to smash their goals. They work within the sectors of local SEO, national SEO, and e-commerce SEO. So, from our understanding, Rachel has just recently started over at Quirky Digital. She's been there for the past 3 months now. So, Rachel, firstly, congratulations on your new role as head of SEO. And thank you so much for coming on the webinar.
No problem. Thank you very much.
How are you keeping today?
Good, very good.
Yeah.
It's a little bit gloomy outside, so the puppy's been moaning at me a little bit to take him out, but I'm not going there until it stops raining. So
we're happy to have you on, and we hope not to keep you too long from your puppy. If we can kick things off by just chatting quickly about your career progression, how you got into SEO, and if you can take us through a little bit about how you sort of climbed up to the head of SEO role that you're at now.
I had an interesting start in SEO. So I actually met my first boss when I was working in a whiskey bar. And, he kind of asked about what I was studying at uni. I told him I was studying English and creative writing. He was kind of like, oh, we need writers. Come be a writer. So that's how I started. And he taught me about, the wonderful world of SEO and optimizing content, and it kind of went from there. I ended up being head of content and SEO at that agency. And then from there, I've worked at a couple of other agencies as head of. And then I've done a couple of years at Wavemaker as a senior SEO manager. That was very, very different from the other experience that I've had. That was, a little bit more like local clients. That kind of brought me onto like more global, like really, really big businesses. Which that taught me a lot. Very rapid learning curve. And now I'm at Quirky as the head of SEO role, which is kind of like a nice bridge. Nice to be back in Liverpool, because obviously Manchester being across over the water. Working at Quirky, it's been nice to kind of work on some of those like global bigger brands, but in a local agency, which aren't many agencies in Liverpool that kind of work at that level. So it's really exciting to be here.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. And Rachel, you obviously moved from Wavemaker, which is quite a large, sort of more probably corporate sort of setup, to now Quirky, which is probably slightly more specialized and focused. How has that transition been from working with such a really large team to now more sort of smaller, close-knit team?
It's been really interesting. Obviously, Wavemaker, as you say, like massive corporate agency, excellent at data and amazing, really like tight-knit processes. And obviously with a company of that size, they have like the time and the resource to invest in making all of the processes really, really exceptional. So it's been quite nice to bring some of that expertise to a local agency and work with a smaller team to implement that same standard of practices that you get in a massive Fortune 500 company. I'd say it's been a nice transition for me, because I've been able to bring a lot of like useful information, useful processes to the team at Quirky, and they've loved it. Like some of the things that I showed them that like I learned at Wavemaker, like, wow, that's amazing. So it's been really interesting to go from having been trained in all of those things to now training a smaller team and all of that. But with Quirky at the moment, obviously we are a specialised SEO agency, and so we don't do anything else. So it's quite a difference from Wavemaker, where they have a lot of other channels that you kind of collaborate with, day to day in the job. But it's been nice to kind of go back to a situation where I'm dealing with like to 14 members of staff, who are all specialised and focusing just on SEO, where you can really get some amazing results when you have a whole team of specialised experts.
Awesome. Yeah, I think just before we started this webinar, one thing that was really standing out to me was that you are bringing on a new candidate within, or a new employee rather, in the next few months. How was your onboarding processes from when you first started out at Quirky, and how are you looking to sort of adapt or implement that with your new hire coming on in the next few months?
My onboarding process was really, really nice and smooth at Quirky, which I think it's super important. Like it's kind of a little bit awkward when you start somewhere and like things aren't prepared, your laptop isn't ready, you know, you don't know where to find X, Y, Z. But that was all really like nice and streamlined at Quirky. I really felt like they had prepared for me to arrive, which is lovely. I think, you know, when we onboard our SEO manager role, which will be happening really soon, we'll follow a similar process, just ensuring that everything's already been, you know, pre-prepared for them. They've got all of the passwords, all of the access they need. They know who to contact about different issues. And yeah, just I think having the time dedicated to check in is super, super important. And that's something that Liam, the owner of Quirky, he really made the time when I started to, you know, check in with me, check that I needed anything, and was super open to like, oh, I need this membership. I can't function without this. I can't function without this tool or this license or whatever. And he was super, super accommodating and just excited to, you know, start learning all of these new things and you know, hit the ground running, which, you know, when you start, you kind of want it to be like exciting. And I think it should be. It's like it's a nice like sort of pivotal moment for you. You know, it should be like an exciting start. You shouldn't kind of feel like a little bit stunted by waiting for things to happen or, you know, not knowing who to contact about things.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, but as a head of SEO, or rather when you were being onboarded as one, is there anything in particular that you wish you had, or something that stood out with Quirky that you wish other SEO teams or agencies could implement within their onboarding processes? I'm asking this because we're working on some resources and I'd love to pick your brain about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I started, I did kind of have access to everything that I needed. And, you know, I had a lot of people who were like super on board and super excited to get going and working with things. I think that one of the most important things that you can do during that onboarding process is just, you know, making sure that there's a lot of time in the schedule to kind of make sure that you sit down with all different teams and, you know, you kind of know how they all work, even if maybe it's like a team that you're not directly working with, you won't be working with as much. So for example, at Quirky, we've got quite a big content team. You know, we write all of our content in-house. And so even though I wouldn't be, you know, directly managing all of the people in that content team, sitting down with the head of content, Emily, and really getting to the bottom of how that team operates and their internal processes and why they do things in a certain way was really, really important. That was something as well that, you know, Wavemaker did really well. They kind of gave you the opportunity to sit down with all of the different teams. Like, this is someone from PPC, this is somebody, you know, who works in client relations, and making that time to just put a call in, find out how they do things, find out, you know, how you kind of slot into that, and, you know, just learning like the Quirky way or the Wavemaker way. So yeah, I think that's like, you know, really, really, really important, because you don't know often like how there's going to be crossover between those two teams or how you might have to work with someone. And it's also just useful having a contact in those teams, somebody that you've met, a familiar face, that, you know, you can, next time there's a question or something comes up, you know, there's something a little bit weird in Google Analytics relating to another channel, you kind of already have that person that you can get in touch with and just say, oh, I'm not too sure about this, can you like advise me?
Awesome. Cool.
Brilliant. And Rachel, I think you sort of touched on it there a wee bit, but obviously moving into any sort of new role can be quite daunting. But especially moving into like a head off role where you're supposed to be sort of the person everybody looks to for like answers and things like that. Do you have any sort of tips for people moving into like a more senior role on how to get the sort of the team on your side when moving into that like sort of new agency?
Yeah, for sure. I think getting people involved and not just making assumptions is a big thing. You know, like I could come in and say, let's do this. In my last place, we did it this way, so let's do it this way. But actually, that team's been operating for however long, and has probably already encountered certain things, and there's a reason why they do things the way they do. And that's not to say that, they can't be improved and changed and that you can't add a lot of value to it. But I think just, make sure that you listen first and find out why it is that they do things the way that they do. Don't kind of come in and insist like this is the best way. So that's definitely one. But then I would also say, just have confidence in your opinion of things, that you've moved into this managerial position for a reason. You've been offered this promotion because you're very, very good at your job and you're very, very capable. And so, just have that faith in yourself that, you have the right answers.
That's actually a nice transition to, I think, the next question that I had lined up, which was imposter syndrome. Within moving through different jobs, especially as team leads or head of SEO and things like that, imposter syndrome can become more and more prevalent. Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome, and how do you sort of combat it if you did?
I'm so lucky in the sense that I haven't had to deal with it a great deal. I think my mum's always raised me to
Awesome.
My mum's always raised me to be very much like, why not you? Like, you can reach for the stars. So
go mom.
Yeah, go mom. So yeah, I think I've been very lucky in that sense that I haven't had a huge deal of imposter syndrome, but I do think, it's very prevalent in this industry specifically because, there isn't always just one straight answer to a question. There's many different ways that you can approach a certain thing, and there's not always one really clear answer. And so I think that can give a lot of room for doubt. Especially if you face like a really, really specific problem, you can't find the answers online, you can't find anything similar. You kind of just have to make a really educated guess sometimes. And I think people can really struggle with that and start to doubt things, and they don't want to make the change on the website and, do this thing that could potentially go wrong. But, obviously it gets easier with experience. So the more times that you kind of have to face a certain situation, you've got more kind of reference points to go back to and say, oh, I remember we did it this way, or I know how it works in that industry, or, with a specific issue because I've done it before. So I think ultimately, like, you just kind of have to take a leap of faith at the beginning. And, the more times you do it, the easier it gets. So I think it's just breaking out of that cycle and, believing that you've got a good answer to the question and having confidence and going for it. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't always work out. So.
Yeah, awesome. I love that.
You got to back yourself.
Yeah.
I love the power. I wanted to ask you, Rachel, through your experiences of being, in lead positions, have you adopted a specific management style, or do you maybe have a few that you sort of lean on? What's your typical style if you have got one?
I would say I'm like quite laid back, and I think I just try to approach things in the way that I would want them to be approached with me. So if there's something that, like, if there's an issue of any kind, I just kind of approach it in a really human way and say, like, okay, nobody wakes up wanting to make this big mistake or to have this big oversight. Sometimes it just happens. So I think in that sense, I just try and approach it like, just in a nice way. But then, also from like a development and growth and pushing sense, I do try to just believe in people and believe that they can do the hard task and they can do the difficult thing and give them an opportunity to shine rather than handhold too much. So, if there is a team member who hasn't done a particular task before and they're quite concerned about it, I'll give them maybe like a bit of a test environment to just have a go. Because I think especially in SEO, you do learn so much more by just doing than, trying to learn. It's a lot of trial and error, a lot of, just having a go. And so giving people the confidence that they need to be able to just have a go is super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in like a smaller setting, that type of style is very welcomed because it's very personal. I mean, you aren't in massive corporate channels necessarily, so you do have the ability to be more personal with people, actually just interact like humans. So yeah, I think that fits really well for the environment.
Yeah, that's it. And it, it's a lot to do with just like making the time for people. I think, people really want to let you know that they've done a good job of something. People want to, share amazing work that they've done with you, and making sure that there's like regular check-ins, there's one-to-ones, there's opportunities for them to kind of show that work. It encourages them to do that amazing work, because they know, I'm going to sit down with Rachel next week and I can't wait to show her this. It doesn't happen as much anyway if you don't make the time, because nobody's going to see it.
Yeah, you have to be involved and actually like excited for your team to share things with you. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Okay.
I love that. Last week we had on John Paul Drake. He was also just very much focused on just being this personable sort of manager, and being there as a manager of, in the sense of like how he would like to be reciprocated as well, and how he would like to be treated. A lot of his inspiration came from previous managers that he had or lacked in his previous experience. Were there any managers that or management styles that stood out to you in your previous experiences that maybe just influenced you or like greatly impacted you? And yeah, do you have any advice to any sort of SEO execs that are maybe just stepping into that management style themselves, or that manager level?
Yeah, I've had such a good run with managers, like an amazing run. My very first manager, he just invested so much time into teaching me things, and it was the exact same at Wavemaker. I had a couple of amazing managers there who just really took the time out to teach me, especially because like that was a big learning curve with how massive those clients were and the kind of like portfolio of people that I was managing. So I've been so lucky in that sense. And then obviously now I've got Liam, who like has like amazing entrepreneurial spirit, which is like great to learn from as well. So yeah, I would say in general, the things that have stood out to me and been amazing managers is making the time, investing in training someone up, because I think that you can be really, really guilty of, thinking, oh, well, it'll take me 2 days to train a person to do this, but it'll only take 2 hours for me to do the task myself. But you can't think about it like that, because you'll have to do that task 2 hours every single week for like a month investment. It's like, I try and think about it the same way that I think about like money. So, I found myself spending like £7 a day at Cafe Nero, which is obscene. And, like if I did the maths, I was like, I should just get myself like a really nice coffee machine and make all my coffees. And at first, when I was like dropping 500 quid on a coffee machine, it was like, oh, this is such a big expense. But now I have like almost free coffee all the time, and I can do latte art. So I think like you have to think about it in that sense and think like, yeah, this is a big time investment for me to train somebody, but ultimately that's going to pay dividends for a long time to come. So I think that's something as a manager you really need to like make the time to do, and it will pay off from.
I love that analogy so much, because and it actually hits home so much, because our co-founder Craig Duarte, he actually like went through the exact same thought process. Oh, if I work from home and I buy this coffee machine, I'm going to save so much money. So I'm going to tell him this is exactly what happened. But yeah, no, I really love that.
Yeah, it's worth it. But yeah, I think it is really, really important, and you can end up kind of having a lot of your team just doing the same task over and over again because they know how to do it already, and not utilizing them to the full potential that it's going to benefit you as a manager to be able to delegate, but also you're not giving them any opportunity to grow and develop either. And so they kind of would just end up perpetually stuck at this level. So you do need to take the time out and accept that like when you are in a management role, you are going to have less time for those reasons. You need to adjust your schedule accordingly and accept that maybe 1 or 2 days out your week you can't just be like hammering through work. You have to also be like training and developing everyone else so they can hammer through it.
I love that.
And Rachel, just to sort of add in on that, obviously, I think if LinkedIn isn't lying, you've been with Quirky for like 4 months now. Was there anything that like before you started like you had like a plan for like that you wanted to sort of achieve, not necessarily like corporately, but even like personally within the company, over like the first like 30 days or 90 days or however long?
In terms of like individual time frames, I really wanted to, get process down, because I think, people have started to call me the Asana queen, because I am obsessed with getting processes onto Asana, getting things automated, and really just nailing down processes, because I think especially when we're looking to hire and bring new people in, just being able to show someone a really like solid system and say this is how we do it, this is like our approach, is super important. So that was like one of the first things I wanted to do, and I made sure that I'd left a lot of time to do it. So, making sure that I wasn't just completely tied up with clients all the time, that I was, investing in that process, because ultimately, like, it's going to create efficiencies, which are going to save time later down the line. And when you start in a new business, that is something that, like, sometimes you can just immediately get caught up in, like, all of the day-to-day and, like, thrown into the deep end of doing just lots and lots of client work, and you don't take the opportunity to kind of say, okay, right, I have arrived, let's get everything on Asana. So yeah, I think it is, if you can, then it's really good to make the time when you first start, because you hit the ground running, and you kind of set expectations for like, this is kind of what I can do, and like show you this is what I'm bringing to the table, which it is good, because it gives people that confidence in you, that you're going to be able to make positive changes, and get you like nice buy-in at the beginning, get everyone excited for you to be there.
100%. That actually transitions nicely into the next question that I wanted to ask, which was, having been at Quirky Digital now for the past 3 or so months, and then having now hired someone and bringing them in, can you sort of just, I mean, aside from Asana, can you tell us a bit about just really getting into understanding the company culture, mission, vision, values, and how to sort of like just taking us through your journey of how you speed tracked through that to the point of understanding we need to hire now and what to look for, and sort of just identifying that right time to hire. Can you just take us through that journey?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, it was something when I got to Quirky that, I kind of started to implement new processes and new ways of handling new clients, and, certain steps that required like quite a high level of understanding, a high level of expertise. And so, we have some amazing team members at Quirky, like super, super switched on, intelligent people. But, it was kind of evident when we started to implement all these new processes, we were going to need more people to kind of be doing this. We were taking things up a notch, basically. We've been doing a really great job for clients already, and absolutely smashing it. But, there were new ways that we could innovate and make things better. And Liam was like super, super responsive to it, and like, yeah, that's great, let's do that for all clients. Which, it takes time, it takes resource. We want to work through all of the clients that we've already got and start to, do some of these processes and these like extra nice to have things that are going to make a big difference, and, step up as an agency and, deal with even bigger clients and kind of approach some of, those more global clients, the type of clients that I've been working with at Wavemaker. And so part of that was, improving all of those processes around. And so having somebody who kind of filled in a bit of a skills gap for us was really important. And so we made the decision that, yeah, let's get a manager in, and we can actually start to do all of these things that we know would be amazing for clients, and we know would help us to take that next step up. So it was a really like nice, clear, easy decision for us. And obviously having the buy-in from Liam for that was amazing, because very easily have been like, no, you have cost me so much money and tools already. I'm not giving you an SEO manager as well. But he was like super up for it. And straight away, like, yeah, let's advertise for it, because you can really see the benefit and how it's going to help us change as an agency.
Awesome, cool. Yeah.
Wow. So obviously this new person that you've been bringing on board, they're external, if I'm not mistaken. When you're looking at your internal team, how do you identify A players, and how do you then nurture them in order to reach their full potential, even if it's not necessarily like, moving up in the ranks. So just in their role, how do you nurture them in that regard as well?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not just saying this because I work there, but like Quirky is just the players, like they are all exceptional. Everyone's super, super motivated, super excited about client wins and, getting things done. And, like people put like the little wins, the nice achievements in the Slack channel, and everyone's like rocket emoji, like hands in the air emoji, like super like which is amazing. So, I'm really lucky in the sense that all the people that I line manage are just A players who are super motivated. They want to progress. They want to, learn the skills that are going to help them move to the next level. And so, yeah, in that sense, it's kind of just accommodating that and making sure that there's opportunities for that growth. We've just recently done our appraisals. And we've kind of had like a little bit of a new system in place that makes it really, really clear like what you need to do to progress to that next level, like what you need to do to get that promotion, like what the different sort of skill sets are for each individual role. And that helps us to just really pin down like what people are interested in, what people want to achieve. And from that, it's given us just real clear actionable things that all of our team members can do, which I think is super important. You can set like really vague goals of like, I want to improve my on-page skills or something like that. But when you kind of boil it down a lot further and say, no, I'm going to do this specific course, I'm going to work on this specific website or work in this specific, difficult industry that I've not worked in before or something like that. That's when you really start to see the progression, because you can give tasks that are going to actually, help them to learn those skills, rather than just sort of vaguely talking about it at every appraisal and sort of vaguely feeling like you're getting better on page or whatever it is. So I think that, is the main thing that you can do for people, to just kind of make sure that you're taking the time out to learn about their goals and what it is that they want to achieve, and then just point them in the right direction of things that the business can do to help them achieve that, whether it is, a training course, whether it's an opportunity, whether it's, like working on a particular client or getting more involved in client comms or whatever it is that they are super interested to do. Just creating an environment where they have the opportunity to let you know about that, and that you can give them that opportunity to do it and to perform really well. So yeah, I think listening is the boiled down version of that.
I love that. It goes hand in hand with your preferred management style. I mean, actually just learning where people are in their professional journey and coming alongside them and sort of just understanding where they want to be, what they want to do, and then strategically delegating. So this person wants this, here you go.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, like ultimately having such a motivated team who are like so excited things they want to learn, how to do X, Y, Z, that is the vast majority of the battle. Just making sure that you listen and you kind of know what their key interests are and the things that they want to excel in. They're going to do a better job of it anyway because they're interested in it. And so it just makes sense.
Definitely. And Rachel, just one of the things that really strikes me, first of all, Liam seems like every sort of head of SEO's dream, that he just gives those green lights.
How
did you sort of not sell the idea to bring on the SEO manager, but how did you present the need for it? Like, was there any sort of specific like data points or anything like that you could show him that like this is what this person can fill or take us to this next level?
Yeah, I think, I do try and, be mathematical about it. And so, just look at like actual hours sold in versus how many hours that we've got. But I think that only gets you so far most of the time. Obviously, there's loads of like ad hoc things to consider and, unexpected delays on things that can change things. I think from our perspective, it was more of a skills gap, and bringing someone in who like already had great experience at doing some of these like really, really high level tasks that we want to be able to do for clients. And so from a mathematical perspective, we actually had more than enough resource to cover what we needed to cover. It was more just kind of like from an expertise perspective and just wanting to take that next step up. One thing like Liam really wants to do, he wants to take it to the next level. He wants like to be a really, really well-known agency. And so, you know, part of that is sometimes making sure that the resources available that has that expertise and that can train our junior staff, and that, you know, can really like enrich the agency with, you know, more knowledge and more like high level support. Because obviously, you know, when you've got some more junior members of the team, being able to like spend that one-on-one time, moving all the way back to the beginning when we were talking about training and making time for people, you know, having that is just so invaluable, and it enriches the whole team, and, you know, makes everyone do a much better job. So yeah, from our perspective, you know, we didn't necessarily need someone, but we wanted someone, which is nice, to be in that position that we're able to do that. We're able to invest and, you know, hire team members before it's like, oh my God, we're all flat out and, you know, there's not enough resource to cover things. We've kind of like had the nice benefit of bringing someone in just because we think it's going to be really great for our clients.
Awesome.
Love that.
I love that too. Just to sort of build off of that and just end off with a quick sort of fire question. For any SEO managers that are looking to career progress into a head of SEO role, what is one sort of communication tip that you could give them to help them understand sort of your relationship with someone like Liam? How do you guys sort of smash the communication goals and just continue to grow the business? If you have one sort of key tip to give to other SEO managers or head of SEOs, what would it be?
Just keep coming with the ideas. I think, you know, if you can think of new ways to improve things and new ways to kind of adapt and progress things, like make time for that. Like I have at least half a day every week where I just think like, okay, where can we build an efficiency? Where can we do this? I take it straight to Liam, or, you know, I take it straight to the team, ask for their opinion. And so, you know, keeping things interesting, keeping things kind of like changing, improving all the time, like not dropping the ball is super important. But also like shout about the stuff that you're doing. You know, if you do something really good, tell people. And I think this is like a big thing for junior SEOs as well. You know, some of them are so quietly brilliant, and it's just like send everyone an email that has that in it, CC your manager in it, CC your manager's manager in it, and, you know, just make sure everyone is aware of the amazing things that you're doing. Like there's no point being quietly brilliant, just, you know, tell people.
I love
that. Like people will know your name, people will know that you're good and you're capable. You know, if you're getting great client feedback, why shouldn't everyone know about that?
That's a great way to combat imposter syndrome as well. Just circling back to that. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, well, thank you, Rachel, so much. That was such an awesome webinar. Time flew by so quickly, but some great tips for managers and heads of SEOs. And yeah, just all the best of luck with Quirky Digital and the new hires you're bringing on. And we are very excited to just see you guys flourish. So yeah, we really appreciate it, and we will chat soon. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. It was lovely to be here. Yeah, have a lovely weekend.
Awesome.
Okay.